Well, good
Now we are.
morning. Thank you. Thank you for joining. We're going to be doing our webinar for Finbot platform. Finbot. I'm going to be explaining what Finbot is and trying to do some demos as well today for the application that we have built. My name is Sammir Ospina, and I'm the global delivery lead for RPA at Team International. Um, I joined a team a couple of years ago, and I work with all our automation team, right? RPA, and as well the Finbot team. Um, what is Finbot? Finbot is a software as a service automation platform built by Team International, and it's focused especially in financial process automation. Um, right now, or this presentation is going to cover only the invoice processing module, and we are going to be talking about the different features that it has, and including automatic invoice resection, intelligent invoice data extraction, configurable approvals, and section management. We're going to be talking about that a little bit, and how these streamline the traceability of the process as well. So I'm going to get started on the automatic invoice resection. Currently, companies receive invoices through email. They receive invoices through physical mail that they have to, scan those invoices and then upload those to, I don't know, a folder, or upload that to their ERP, and then type that information, manually into our system. So right now, focus on the section. We have set up three ways to automatically receive or get the invoices. So we're going to be monitoring the emails. We're going to be doing FTPs to, a file transfer protocol on a specific network to get that, and we also enable an API to as well to other applications or to RPA bots to connect directly to the APIs and upload the new invoices. Okay. Um, the next feature is about the intelligent invoice data extraction, and that OCR capability, data extraction capabilities are provided by Rosen, which is one of our partners. And um, the difference or the features, the highlights of the intelligent invoice data extraction is that it requires not a specific rule or template setup. We don't have to go into development to set up a new vendor. We don't need to create a new template every time the vendor change their invoice layout. All that happens automatically. So it has a proprietary deep learning technology that understands all the structure of the invoices and how it's compound, and that's it. And this of course ensures that it is ready to extract data right away. Okay, so you have a new invoice, a new vendor, or your company has um, a changing layouts or the invoices. You are migrating to a new country, whatever the or new region, sorry. Whatever the changes are happening to the invoices, the technology can interpret and understand those changes and get the information out of the invoices. I'm gonna be showing you this in just a second, and this is gonna be more clear for everyone to understand what we're talking about here. But just in general, is that a couple of things. So it doesn't require kind of pre-train, or it doesn't require to set up templates, and it doesn't require to do development every time you have a new invoice or invoices changes. It only requires a human feedback, and that human feedback comes from the API analyst. So we don't have, or we don't need developers, or we don't need the technical team to jump in and kind of set up or improve the extraction. All that happens by the feedback provided by the API analyst. So let me go. I'm gonna take a step here and go directly to the application. So this is kind of just a demo environment that we have for the application, and I'm going to be showing you this. So as I told you, you receive the invoices automatically. You can also upload those invoices if you want to, but If you have the option to just forward that to an email, I'm pretty sure you will rather that instead of coming here. But if you want to, you still can do that here. Then we have the validation stage, and the validation stage is where we are going to be, confirming the data extraction and doing something that is called the cost allocation. That I believe, if you're not familiar with it, is just setting what's the cost center and the GL account for that invoice. So on the validation stage, let me take you directly to in the OCR section of that, and this is the Rosum AI powered OCR. So how this works is that actually it already, without me or without anyone creating this template, it starts recognizing the information. So you can see here that the invoice number is already extracted, the PO number or the order number is extracted. For example, if this was, if you realize that this is not the order number or this is not the PO, then you can, select the bill of lading number because that's the actual number. So you just either draw a box like I did or just click on it, and that is going to be enough to extract the information. So the good thing or the best thing about this is that not only I can do this to actually continue on the process or to confirm the extraction, but every time that I do this or that an AP analyst does this, it's providing feedback to the AI, so it learns. So next time I receive this invoice is gonna be more accurate. So for example, this customer ID is set for this trailer number. So I can just say no, this is wrong, and that's it. And I can continue. So let me show you as well, or tell you that besides the learning component that I just explained you by the AP analyst providing the feedback, like clicking or confirming any information, as well, this allowed to have some validations on information as well on the line items, of course header data such as invoice number, invoice date, and the things that you see kind of here on the left panel. The accuracy is way higher. We have seen and we have been seeing results for clients that provide us a sample of 500, 1,000 invoices, and the accuracy on the header information goes around the 95%, which is crazy because you don't need to do an actual template. You don't need to do anything. That all the AI that is powering this, all the machine learning, all the natural language processing, all the deep learning technology allows to have those levels of accuracy. Okay, so let me come back here to the presentation. So this is what we were talking about, this extraction. Again, every time, and I know I'm being repetitive, but it's just because I want to make sure that we get that information and that we get that in, if you go out of this goal, you need to get that on your end as well. So for example, vendor name is wrong. So I will, select the right vendor name, and this was taking kind of the customer address as the vendor name. So I can, as I say, I can just draw a box on that in that section, and it's going to be extracting all that in just a click. Okay, so that's on the invoice data extraction. As soon as the invoice or data is extracted, and this goes through a different series of rules engine to define what to do with that information, right? So we are talking about rules on the cost allocation, rules on who should be the approver, who should be what's the direction or the destination of this invoice. And for that we have something that we call kind of the configurable workflow management, and that's for approval, that's for validations, that's for a section. So we have 4 stages. Validation stage, which we just review a part of that, which was the OCR. Then we have the approval stage, which is for every person that is authorized within the company to provide an authorization to approve a purchase is going to be accessing to it to provide that. And the posting stage is it's intended to be an automatic process in which the Finbot, our platform, actually takes the information of the invoices, takes the information of the approvals, and goes into the ERP through different setup of connections to post that invoice into the accounting system. And then we have this section stage. So let me take you to the application, back to the application, and these were kind of the 4 stages that we were talking about. So let me explain you what those connectors look like and what do they mean. So this means that as soon as the invoices are received, as I told you, the OCR kicks in, and if all the information is correctly extracted, if the accuracy percentage is very high, and according to the different set of rules that we set out for your company, in the Finbot application will take that invoice and it will, just to give you an example, it will take, if that invoice is an utility invoice, and the utility invoice is, is expected to come every month, and it's expected to be always under $200. Well, if that's the case, then Finbot is going to take that invoice and it's going to take it directly to posting. Why? Because it's already there. So in that scenario, we gain a lot of automation. We free up, the AP team. We free up approvers time, so they don't spend time on something that is expected, right? It's an expected payment. It's an expected invoice that every month you receive. So I can continue on the examples on that, but I'm gonna take you to this other part, which is, what about if the invoice requires certain level of validation? It requires either to confirm the extraction, as I showed you on the previous example, or it's required to, add additional information for the invoice. So let me take you to the invoice validation stage. In this queue, as I showed you previously, you see the information that has been already extracted. You see that there are some fields that are missing, and that's kind of an alert, right, for an AP analyst to say, I need to get in here, I need to solve this issue. You will see different statuses. You will see part of the information from the invoice. You will see how many days has this been held on the application. So you can, sort this out and say, okay, I want to go and work on the ones that have been, the longest here. Why is this been 5 days here without any action? So you can sort this in the way you want it as an AP analyst, and do the OCR validation, or you can go directly. If the status is reviewed, is because now it requires only the cost allocation. So when I click here, this is going to take me to that view. And what this view allows me, or this screen allows me, as an AP analyst, is to set up what's the cost, what's the distribution of this cost on the different AP accounts or different GL accounts or cost centers. So you can select what's the legal entity, right? If you had, for example, different entities on your ERP for different business units or for different locations, you can have all of them here without, have to have multiple applications. You can select, who is the owner. You see the information that has been extracted on the previous one, and you can have here in the line items, for example, if you have so many line items here, you can just go into this view, start assigning the different cost centers, assigning the different scenarios. You can distribute these across multiple cost centers. So I can select another one. I can do this by, by saying, hey, $10 of this total goes to here, or just say, hey, 20% of this total line item goes to these different cost centers. So that's kind of the cost allocation side. You can also either download, print this invoice, or you can attach files here, right? So you can go take any of your files, drop it in here, save them as supporting evidence, supporting documentation for this invoice. Okay, if you see something that is wrong, then you go back to straight data, and that takes you to the OCR back to the OCR section, in which, as I explained you in the previous example, you can the way you can interact with this. So for example, in this case, I didn't realize, but it actually is missing the PO number. So I can, just draw the box around here and extract that information, and then go back to the next stage, net cost allocation. So that's the first one. That's the validation stage. Again, the main users that are interacting with this stage are the AP analysts. And as soon the AP analysts are done with all that, they can submit that for approval. And that's where we have our workflows on table of authorities, on delegation of authority, whatever you want to call it, in which define thresholds and defines and selected user how much, what's the amount that they are authorized to approve or to reject. So let me just refresh this, that is loading, and go back to the homepage. So if you see here from the validation, again, you can submit that for approval. You can reject that invoice because it has an exception, and I'm going to be showing you that in just a bit. And then this invoice will go to approval. So as I'm logged in right now as an AP analyst, what I can see here is all the invoices that are pending for approval. I can see the information from those invoices. Again, I can sort this out by how long has it been in the queue, for the total, for when's the due date, which is something that, the example, we are using very old invoices, but in the case we had an invoice that is due tomorrow, well, that's going to be a priority, right? Because you will want to take actions on that as soon as possible, so you don't have to pay late fees, just to give you an example. As an AP analyst, I can just come here, and it's not going to allow me to do anything here. It's just for me to view. But something that I can do is check on the timeline. The timeline is going to be showing me, all the actions. When was this received? Who uploaded this? Who validated? Who did the cost allocation? What comments have been on here? If this was already approved by someone, maybe I'm the second approver. So everything that happens to this invoice within the application is recorded by the timeline. And I'm skipping ahead for something that we are calling here kind of the streamlined traceability and storage. So I just explained this, that all actions are safe and are easily to find. So it's not that users can need to call IT to find logs of activities and all that. Is just what has happened in this timeline, what has happened in this invoice. I just go to the timeline and see that. Okay. Let me go back to the queue. Here is something that maybe I didn't mention, and is that according to the different rules and the different setups that we do for our clients have that, if I assign this to the owner, and the owner is taking, this invoice has been already 5 days, 3 days, 7 days, whatever the number is, waiting for approval, then this gets escalated automatically to the next level of approval, right? So that enables that saves a lot of time and a lot of in uncomfortable moments between AP and the approvers, right? When AP analysts try and beg sometimes, hey, please approve this, I need to post this on the invoice so I can pay it. So this saves that, that for our users, and does it automatically, and also removes automatically the bottlenecks. And it creates kind of this pressure, right? So if I don't approve this on time, if I don't approve or reject this invoice on time, then my VP, my director, my CFO, all the levels that are above you are going to find out that, and that creates kind of this necessary pressure as well sometimes to move things faster. And that's one way that we help companies to have a faster processing times, and again, a lot of time consuming. We automate a lot of time consuming and uncomfortable actions for our users. So that's here on the approval stage. One more stage here that I wanted to show you is the section before we go to posting. But in the section, it's a very cool feature that allows to handle all kind of a section. One of the things that when the approver or the analyst, when the users reject an invoice, they need to define why they're rejecting that invoice, and that's something that we call the section type. So it requires more information. It has a duplicate, and this duplicate it may be it is also recognized automatically by the application. So let me show you this duplicate invoice. And this is a pretty cool feature that shows you, hey, there are two invoices exactly the same. Sometimes, and we show that here because sometimes they have the same number and they are from the same vendor, but the invoice is different. So on those scenarios, you cannot post to your ERP two invoices from the same vendor with the same number. So in order to avoid that issue on the posting stage, we allow the users to interact with this and define, hey, this is actually a duplicate invoice, so I just need to discard this invoice and confirm that that discard, right? Or if this actually is a different invoice but with the same number, then I can just select the vendor and click send an email, and then I don't need to create that email. It already pops up this for me, tells what's the invoice number, and tells already the message. So if you want to hey, this is, and you want to be rude a little bit, right, and say this is the fifth time that this happened. So you want to go in, you can edit this if you want to. If you don't, then you can just send this in that way. They're going to be seeing the attachments on that, and the idea is that if they need to change that, then they do it, and if they confirm that that was a mistake, then we can just discard this invoice and nothing happened, right? And all those confirmations are going to appear here on the timeline. Hey, this was discarded because it was a duplicate. It was confirmed that it was a duplicate, or whatever. So that's on the duplicates, but in the other, in the other reasons, for example, we have here other reasons. So the actions are now not only discard and send email, but also, it can be, hey, change the invoice owner because, Danielle is not the actual invoice owner. So, well, if that's the case, then who should be the owner? Okay. And you can send this back to that extraction. You can escalate this. I don't know why it's not showing that here, but you can also escalate that to your AP manager, right? Because I don't know, the third level of approval reject this invoice by mistake. Okay, then the AP manager is the only authorized to push that back into the approval cycle or to push that to the posting stage. So that's what happens in the section. Again, the timeline plays a very important role here, saying why this is rejected, saying having all the comments and all that. And with that, I'm coming to the last stage, which is the last stage on the order that we are presenting is number 3, but is the posting stage, and that is where we enable APIs, we enable SQL connection, RPA bots, and any other technology available to connect to systems. And why we're saying any other technology or multiple technologies to that is because ERP, sometimes we have companies or clients that have a very modern ERPs that they have APIs available, so we consume those APIs and we integrate through APIs very easily. But sometimes we have very old, very complex applications. Sometimes they have ERPs that are no longer even supported by the provider. So in those cases, we may implement even RPA, right? So an RPA bot receives the information from the invoice and goes as a user will go through that all complex to integrate with application, and do the posting on behalf of the platform. So that's something that it happens here on the posting stage. So all the invoices that once the invoice has all the approvals required, they're gonna come here, and we have two approaches here. Either is an automatic posting, so as soon as they are approved, the invoice will use the APIs or the SQL connection to post this invoice in the ERP, and once they are posted, it's going to confirm that and it's going to bring the information back here. Or we can enable that through through a user, and selecting all these and then exporting that to the ERP, and that's something that as well it can be done. So that's on the posting stage, and again, the posting stage is kind of the final point on the application, because that's where we have. Let me come back here. That's where we have we make sure that the information gets to the accounting system. All right, so that's I think we have covered all that. Just one last thing is that we are gonna archive, and we're gonna store the invoices for for the policy retention, to meet the policy retention of your company. So you can have here invoices that have been, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years from now, you can still see those invoices. You can see the PDF, you can see the information from that. And that's going to allow you and facilitate the the audit process, for example, right? It's going to allow you to have when you have an audit, when you have an issue that happened last year, just to give you an example, then you can just go for that invoice, see what happened with that invoice, who approved it, who rejected, why it got posted into the ERP, and all that information. Okay, and I think just here the last section that I was going to show, this is search button. This is a very cool feature because not only allows you to kind of to search for a specific invoice, but also to run reports on top of that you can download to Excel. I know in finance is very used to manage Excel files instead of having information here. So that's a part of the things that we can do on the application. So I think with that we complete what we were expecting to show you today. One last thing is that this is part, as I told you, this is part of the financial automation platform. So Finbot, it's all this what you're seeing on the screen, and what we talked about today was just the invoice approvals model. So there are things coming up in payment management. There are things already coming on PO management, right? Creating your purchase orders, creating your threshold and approval workflows before even the invoices get to the company. We have things coming up in account management, how we can keep up to the vendor information, just to give you an example, and all that. So there are a lot of things coming up, and the cash flow management is going to be huge, because this will allow you to start, the Finbot will analyze, your receivables, your payables, and it's going to start kind of suggesting to you, when to pay invoices, when to use early discounts, when that makes sense to you and when it doesn't. And it brings all kind of different what's the name of what I'm looking for, opportunities to automate and to streamline your financial processes. So I think with that we can go to Q&A. If someone has any questions, if someone has any comments regarding to what we showed today, I'll be open to answer that. Tatiana, do you want to drive here? Tatiana? Well.
Yep, I'm here.
No, I was gonna ask you if you can drive the Q&A. I don't know if there are any questions that we can solve. Well, I'll take that as there are no questions. So, guys, just to remind you that there are other upcoming webinars that are going to be a lot more exciting. We are going to have our Chief Strategy Officer talking about why RPA fails to reach its full potential next week. So, if you haven't registered to that, I'll encourage you to register to take to participate in that webinar. And there are a lot of other webinars coming every week. So, go ahead and schedule ahead of time and register for the one that makes more sense to you and that that it's more interesting for you. Okay, so I think that's it. I'll thank you for joining today and for your participation, and I hope everything that it was shown today it makes sense to you. And if you have any questions, don't doubt to send that over email or to let us know in any way possible. I think Sandra and I think Tatiana and myself as well, we're going to be having, keep an eye on any questions that may arise to come back to you as soon as we can. So Tatiana, I think, I don't know if is there anything else you may want to share, Tatiana?
Thank you guys for joining, and we will send the video to all the participants and to all the people who registered for this webinar. So thank you for coming and looking forward to meeting you during the next RPA webinars. Thank you and have a nice day.
Bye-bye.